Here is your WESN News on the Hour. I'm Naomi McNish. Thanks for joining us. Here are the headlines. NATA condemns use of soldiers at port, calls for 12% pay raise for dock workers. Canopia businessman kidnapped by men posing as police. 11 arrested in Shogunas and Arima traffic operations. Government ensures access to essential medicines, says Health Minister. Now for the details. The National Trade Union Center has condemned the deployment of soldiers to work at the port of Port of Spain amid an ongoing labor dispute. In a statement on October 13th, NATOC expressed full support for the dock workers and called for an immediate 12% wage increase for the period 2014 to 2017. The union criticized the Port Authority's decision to replace civilian workers with soldiers, calling it a violation of workers' rights and international labor standards. NATOC urged the Port Authority to end military involvement and resume negotiations with the Seamen and Waterfront Workers Trade Union to resolve the dispute. For the second time in under a month, a businessman from Canopia has been abducted by men disguised as police officers. Suvesh Kuksi Ramnarayan, 33, was taken from a bar in Warrenville on October 12th by 5 armed men wearing police tactical uniforms. They forced him into a vehicle, while another of Ramnarayan's vehicles was also stolen. A ransom demand was later made to his family. Shogunas Mayor Faiq Mohammed expressed alarm over the rise in kidnappings, pledging to work with law enforcement to enhance safety in the area. The anti-kidnapping unit is investigating. Police arrested 11 individuals during traffic operations in Shogunas and Arima over the weekend. In Shogunas, officers found 300 people at a drag racing event at Heartland Plaza, issuing 81 traffic violation notices and arresting 5 individuals for DUI and driving without permits or insurance. In a separate operation in Arima, 4 men were arrested for drug possession and driving without permits or insurance. Several fixed penalty notices were also issued for traffic violations. The operations were carried out by multiple police units across both districts. Health Minister Terence Dayal Singh has assured the public that the government is doing all it can to provide essential pharmaceuticals and non-pharmaceuticals, including vaccines and HIV test kits. Speaking before the Standing Finance Committee, Dayal Singh highlighted a $6.7 billion allocation for his ministry, with $625 million set aside for pharmaceuticals, though additional loans may be needed. Dayal Singh also noted progress in surgeries, with over 1,200 cardiac procedures completed and joint replacements increasing in the public health system. Efforts are underway to improve access to HIV treatment and strengthen cybersecurity. Well, that's news to the hour on WESN. I'm Naomi McNish. Thanks for watching.
WESN.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. My name is Mark Anthony Peter, and welcome to Season 2 of Breakthrough. I'm so excited. It's Season 2. Hold on. Come on, you background. That is so good.
This is the first that he's seen it, folks. This is the first time he's seeing it.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Okay, nice. Good job, y'all. Good job.
Now we look like we're in a TV set as opposed to a concert hall.
Very true. Very true. Anyway, I'm so excited to get this new journey started. And
Somehow we have a new background and it's even more colorful
Yeah, boy.
than the old background.
Ooh, yeah, boy.
I mean,
yeah.
not that it's a bad thing.
No, it's not.
I'm not going
It's
to be wearing fluorescent pink very often.
No,
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah,
not.
yeah.
But excited to start this new journey, and obviously the one who's been walking with me through this journey and about to start this new journey with me, for better or for worse. The infamous, the notorious, Mr. Sean Michael Small. Good morning, Sean.
Those who know from Form 2 and Form 3, you know. Yes.
There's a nickname story somewhere.
Yeah, let's not go on.
We're not going to get into that. But how are you doing,
that,
Sean?
that potentially could be seen as bullying. No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
No, it wasn't.
No, it was not.
You know, I'm not that soft.
How are you doing?
Tired like you.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, just one of those how things worked out, you know. You know, you were busy. I was not so busy until I found out that there were last minute cancellations on right.
Yeah, you know.
Listen.
This is how TV
This
works.
is show business.
This is show business. You know, you just have to pivot and you have to make it work. You have to make adjustments.
So technically, we're a little bit behind on when we wanted to start season 2.
Right.
But you know what? Mark made an executive decision. We're going full speed ahead. You know what? To hell with the torpedoes. That's full speed ahead, right? It's a quote.
I know.
Right?
So I'm not uncultured for the most part.
I mean, not a lot of people know that quote, right? But with that said, you know, so I mean, we have a good guest who I think, ironically, is also like one of those people who started off this journey with us. So in a way,
if you know, you know.
It's fitting. It's fitting in a way. But I mean, also too, one of the things, and I guess maybe I would like to mention, you yourself are an educator, not just in the music industry. And it seems as though the new term has been taking its toll on you. How's things been going?
I am just really, really exhausted all of the time, but the work is good. The work is good, and to be able to impart any sort of wisdom, to impart the things that I have learned. I was having a conversation with somebody, and I told them, you know, the reason that I give is because people have given so much to me. The reason that I invest so much into others and those who are willing to take it is because so many people have invested in me, right? And I wouldn't be here without their help, without their guidance and their assistance and really their input. Sometimes they would allow me to just make my own decisions, and sometimes they literally physically turn me and say, no, go this way, right? And it only makes sense that not the favor, but the energy is continued and it's returned, and you pay it forward. And
now, not only is it the first term of the new school year, but of course Christmas is around the corner. Just as a minor preview of maybe things to come, not just on WSN, but also in the country, because you are involved in multiple projects. And I just need to know, like, just so people can understand, we're not necessarily going to go into what we're cooking up in the station or what you have with regards to your own projects.
That will come later.
That will come later, as well as other projects you're involved in, because the man wears many hats, folks. Man wears many, many, many hats. But just so people kind of understand, this time of year, for those who have family members who are a musician, who sing parang, who are in a choir, you know, like, how much busier are you between like August to December as opposed to the rest of the year?
So I would say, so I'm not very much, I'm going to preface by saying, so around like carnival time, that's actually my downtime.
Yes.
Right? Because I'm not a calypso tent musician or something like that. I prefer to go to those things and just have that week or those 2 weeks of downtime. When it comes to this Christmas season, this is where a lot of things just start to thrive, and there's a lot happening. So how busy is it? I have a rehearsal every night, Monday to Friday. Right? My days start...
Not with the same organization.
Not with the same organization.
Different things. So your brain is trying to juggle different pieces and programs. That is to say, different concerts.
Yes. And I mean, when you're in different... I don't have the same role in each of the organizations. I have varying roles, so it's not like I have the same load with each organization. So it's just a matter of trying as best to balance. But as I started saying, my days are early, my nights are late, and it just kind of goes forward. And then you leave the weekend. Do I leave the weekend to rest? Absolutely not. You leave the weekend to do some more teaching, and you do leave the weekend to do some extra, tidying up of things that you can't do inside of a rehearsal, right? So all of those organizational things, all of those technical things that you need to work out, who you need to call, working out wardrobe, working out technical things, the sound and stuff like that. I'll just say it very briefly. I'm planning my own concert. It's not the first that I've ever done, but it's a little bit.
There are more elements.
Yeah, there are more elements. It's a little bit of on a grander scale, and you'll get some more details to come. But there's also, just to briefly mention, like the UER's Chorale, we're having our concert on Saturday, December 7th.
Right.
And this is sort of the 25th year of the chorale's existence, right? So we're kind of coming out big with that. Their UER Steel is also celebrating 20 years of existence, right? So they have their things there as well. And then you have, your varied community choirs. They all have their, it's almost like we have our own unofficial choral festival when it comes to Christmas.
Christmas, yes.
Yes, because it's like one weekend after another weekend after another weekend, your favorite choirs.
Yeah,
right?
this is one of the times, and I'll touch on this a little bit more, right? Going back to something that you just said. I don't envy the staff of Queen's Hall, because at some point, it might be nice to see a free concert, but imagine having to basically watch every Christmas concert for the season.
Yes.
Like at some point it's going to be redundant, right?
Yeah.
At some point.
And just to add to that, they see the concert before the audience because most of those staff are there for the dress rehearsal.
They see it multiple times each week.
Yes.
Every week.
Yes. If anybody has ever been part of it, it's usually like, so let's say your concert is maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or just Saturday, Sunday. You're in Queen's Hall doing your tech rehearsal, your dress rehearsal, all those things from Wednesday, maybe even Tuesday. Before
maybe
that
even
weekend.
Monday.
Maybe even Monday, depending on the elements.
Yeah.
Depending on how much staging is required. Sometimes some organizations take that week to do like a stage recording of the concert.
Right.
Right. Just so that they can have a little bit
and
more.
a full dress rehearsal.
And a full dress
doing
rehearsal.
the show in the proper timings
Exactly.
and not stopping
Yeah.
in theory.
Not stopping in theory.
Not
right?
always in practice, but
But yeah, if any costume changes need to happen, you go on, you go off, you run it as if it's a show. You run the show.
and again I say that to reiterate, whenever you not so much the front of house staff, but the production staff for Queen's Hall, I feel for you. It's almost like if they just we've seen this a million times.
Yeah, exactly. But to that point, what I'd like to implore the audience, what I'd like to implore people is try going to a concert that you've never been to before.
Yeah.
Right? Try and then you can form an opinion from there, and then you can choose to go.
I mean,
to not go afterwards.
at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with having an opinion in art. It's just once you're not mean about it.
Right.
And once you're not trying to harm anybody with it.
Exactly, correct. And you may go to something and then you may feel, I don't think this is really for me, but at least you went.
Or you might use stronger language, but ideally you would kind of leave that privately, unless it's your job, in which case you would clean it up to be professional.
Right, yes. Although I have opinions about that. But anyway, so yeah, try
Nah, man,
something.
at some point critics need to be willing to be professional.
No, yes,
but honest.
Absolutely.
Because if you sugarcoat everything, at some point the audience will be like, but I thought you said this wasn't that bad.
But do we have like a real critic culture here as like compared to other areas
Probably
of the
not,
world?
because I feel as though too much pandering goes on. You
Okay.
don't want to lose access.
You don't.
And I think I don't even know if at times, now in the past we did have critics in the papers, but I'm thinking more about like online personalities now.
Okay.
I think they don't even think that far ahead. I think a lot of it with regards to like going to restaurants or things like that, they just don't want to be mean.
Right.
They just don't want the confrontation. They're not looking to pick a fight.
Yeah.
And to what extent are they being too generous or too compassionate?
Right.
And to what extent would it be irresponsible to be too brutal? Because sometimes, you just get one, whether if it's a meal, it's a one-off thing, right?
Right.
It might not be the typical thing. You go to a concert now, if you use one concert to judge a performance, to judge a performer or a choir or a band or a steel pan side, That's not necessarily their baseline. That's not necessarily their norm, right? Next thing you know, that might have been the one night when the unfortunate thing happened behind the scenes.
Right,
when,
yeah.
You know, like the obvious thing is when a mic cuts off, it's not the singer's fault.
Exactly.
You know, there might be a tech problem.
And then the person who's sharing that, they have to be able to know that, you know, this might cut off. So you address the tech or whatever organization needs to happen.
So when you're a true geek, right, and you go to a concert, what you do, you don't look for the performances that are good. Like baseline, you expect them to be at a certain level. But then you want to see, ooh, how did this person respond when they had a tech issue? Because I remember somebody, I'll say it was a Marionette concert. I think it might have been Greta Taylor's daughter. All credit to her, because she was doing a song by herself on stage and she had a tech issue. And we knew she had a tech issue by what she was doing with her hand reaching behind to try and do something, while maintaining not just her singing, but her demeanor, her stage presence, right?
Absolutely have
all
to.
at the same time while she's trying to sort it out. So credit to that. And my time in Love Movement, I know there have been many members who have had to ratch or fix because maybe the music kind of skipped. So I remember one. There was like one kind of thing where it was like singing narration, but the music skipped or they forgot a line. So essentially somebody had to cover up something because you know it can't stop.
I mean, these things happen. These things happen. Like imagine being a pianist and you're performing outdoors and a breeze blows.
Oh, and your music scatters. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. I never imagined before, but that sounds.
Or the entire stand falls, the entire music stand falls, and then you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess let's see how much my memory kicks in, right? Or let's say you'd given music on the day.
Where I had a cousin, QRC Boy Scouts annual Christmas concert, playing guitar, string bass on Queen's Hall stage.
Oh no!
So these things he took it in stride though, because I didn't notice, and he was like, "Yeah, I just had to like."
Yeah, these things happen. These things happen. Like, or if you're given music on the day and you're reading it on the spot and you're doing well, but then the singer puts it in the wrong order.
Now, I wanted to go back to something that you said, because you said you leave carnival
for downtime,
music and art, not just for downtime, and you want to enjoy it. You don't want to be a part of it. Now, with regards to food, there's one thing. There's certain cuisines I wish I could have a restaurant for myself, right? Because that's one of those things where, as a passion, I wish I could have that,
right?
You know. But there's certain culinary foods that I wouldn't want to. I would just want to. Okay, if I want it, I'll go and pay for it. I don't want to. I don't want to be a part of trying to have my own operation. That's not. No, because I want to leave that to enjoy. It's not part of my job. Now, I get to live my dream, although TV is not the most lucrative industry in Trinidad and Tobago, but I get to speak on current events, and every now and then, besides Breakthrough, I get to speak about art, and I get to speak about sports on the NFL on Face of Sports. One of the things, though, is sometimes, you know, when you get to live your dreams and it becomes your job, you know, it's a little bit harder to enjoy.
Let me talk about that really quickly.
So I do want to know, is it like how if I ever had a chance to maybe start something in the food industry, it wouldn't be I'll leave certain things alone. Is it that you want to enjoy certain aspects of art and culture, so it's better for you to not have to work in that space?
Yes, because in order to be a good performer, I have to be a good audience member. I have to be able to understand and remember what it's like being from the audience's perspective, and just to, because when you're doing the performance, it's work.
Yes.
But when you are the audience, it's an experience.
Right.
And you want to, as much as possible, replicate, have that in your brain for your audience.
But like, let's just say you went to a choir's concert that you're not a member of, or you're not affiliated with, or have never been affiliated with. But you've been affiliated with so many choirs, I'm sure like your brain is not going to be in full audience mode at this point.
So it took some time, but I had to actually train to turn my creative brain off.
The one that wants to see all the problems and how to fix it, right?
Not just the problem, but like admire. There's one thing to admire the beauty of what's happening on stage as an artist and a creative yourself, and to just admire the beauty as an audience member. There's a shift, there's a mental shift that you have to make to be able to just be there and to just enjoy it and to just experience it and experience the hard work that the people on stage, the orchestra, the choirs, the performers, the soloists, the actors, there's a shift that you have to make to be able to experience that. And because something about going into making a hobby a career is something that you love, that you're passionate about. Something about making that a career is there are some days that you're not going to love it.
Yeah, because it's work.
Because it's work. But then that's where the work ethic kicks in. That's where the discipline kicks in. And then once you keep that and you see the final product, then you're like, oh, I'm falling in love all over again, right? Because, it's people have said, like, even in relationships, I've heard people say love is not enough. It takes work. It takes conscious choices to make. So even in the relationship with your career, that's something that you're very passionate about. There are those times where it's like, because there are some times I'm like, I don't want to hear anything. I just want silence, right? Yeah. But it's those moments and those breaks that you have to take that kind of renews you. You allow your body to just kind of re-energize itself. It's allowed for reflection and stuff like that. And you just you be part of the people as opposed to performing for the people.
I mean, for me, with regards to current events, it's the reasoning is even different. It's like I only have so much to tolerate before I want to beat my head against the wall or dig a hole in the ground and bury myself in there, or find a ship to go to some remote corner where there's nothing, or to just disappear, or because there's so much bad news. And I studied history enough to know it's not like it's a new phenomenon. It's just there's more of us, so there's more bad news, and then it's more documented and published, right? So it's a two-edged sword, right? Yeah. And there are times when I can't read every murder story, but so it's slightly different from my day-to-day perspective, but at the same time, there's something about. Also, you can't get bored of it when it's like, the typical nonsense, whatever.
A little bit,
but when you get something interesting, something unique,
something new,
an interesting decision, an interesting event, an interesting reaction, an interesting statement, which we should probably start to wind up this session. But I wanted to ask you, speaking about, because me, I always like to find something interesting that's different, That's why I personally don't go to a lot of concerts, because I'm not a good audience member. Yeah. Right? I'm not even
just in general.
I'm not as deep as him, and I am not a good audience member, right? Maybe I am too much of an amateur critic.
Okay.
But with that said, though, I do want to ask. I like to see interesting things, right? This doesn't necessarily happen to me, right? Because I'm not deep in the art, so I'm not looking to try and be a professional in the art scene. But you're deep in the art, so I need to ask: have you ever seen a performance where it's not totally outside of your sphere of ability, and it was so good, you start to feel a little bit jealous, like, damn it, why didn't I think of that? Why did I think of that? Why didn't I do that first?
Has that ever happened to me? I actually, honestly, I don't think so. Here's what does happen. I see an idea, and I'm like, okay, that's good. That's a really good idea. But then you kind of, how do I say this? Then you kind of sort of develop it.
You see the possibilities.
Yes. There's some, this is how I'm going to physically explain it, because this is how it visualizes in my head. Someone has an idea, it's this. And then my brain does a this, and then I'm like, ooh, something else, sort of derived from that. And this doesn't necessarily match this, like wholeheartedly, but certain elements of like, okay, I understand this, but one or two of those elements, I can take it and create something new, right? So that's essentially what I try to do. I mean, even with my projects, even with my groups. Part of the reason that I started, just as we wind it down, part of the reason I started my projects, and my projects are very specific. You've been part of them. You've been behind the scenes and stuff like that. There's not a lot of. I try to create a lot of stuff for the digital space, right? And usually what happens with choirs in the digital space is that they have a live concert and they record that and then they put it. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like that's totally fine. but like music videos specifically, that is what I strive to do, because I feel like there's so much creativity that allows for the visuals and
the editing.
The editing part is actually one of the parts that I enjoy, right? Because it's like, ooh,
you hear that?
Anyway,
guys, you hear that?
No, the person in that control room. No. Anyway, Trinidad and Tobago, we will be right back with our first guest of episode 1 of season 2 of Breakthrough. We will be right back. Stay tuned.
Come travel with us as we explore Diwali across the globe. Diwali is celebrated in many countries worldwide, but do you know the traditions and practices of each nation? From Guyana to Australia, WESN presents Diwali Passport,
October 9th to October 30th, with replays on October 31st.
It's Diwali Passport, a WESN exclusive.
Transform your home with PCU Plus. From stylish furniture to the latest appliances, we have everything you need to create your perfect space. At PCU Plus, we offer fair prices and affordable financing options that are cheaper than hire purchase agreements. With convenient locations in San Fernando, Tobago, Arima, and our lifestyle showroom in Barataria, you're never far from the best deals. Visit PCU Plus today and discover why we're the top choice for quality furniture and appliances. PCU Plus. Quality you trust, prices you'll love. Visit one of our locations or find us online to start transforming your home today.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm nothing to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break a balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the
not no.
Let's go to the last part.
This is 10 Questions. I'm Andy Johnson. The distance from where we should be in the world in going forward on our commitments with climate change.
The effects of climate change that cannot be accounted for. It's called loss and damage, and we're seeing loss and damage happening so much more in this decade and the previous decade.
The principal term there was this question of the correspondent banking issues.
That is why we're trying to build capacity with this country here, Trinidad and Tobago, and other countries in the region.
Man is not showing any signs of stopping or even slowing down. More than half of the forest in Trinidad is already gone.
All the plants and all the animals and all of the nice clean water and fresh air and everything had to be on this planet for humanity to have a chance.
We have small change when it comes to countries that can take decisions, and when they speak, the world listens.
The General Assembly is a very democratic forum. And Trinidad and Tobago has the same vote as Canada, in spite of the obvious difference in size.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
Now you don't need to register nothing. We can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploiting the system. A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
The newest book is here, Closer to the Church, the debut novel by author and former mayor Louis Lee Singh, available at all the Home Store branches, Barataria, West Mall, Shogunas and C3 San Fernando, paper-based bookshop 10 Nook Avenue St. Anne's, WESN 30A Gattaca Street Woodbrook, Metropolitan Bookshop Ariapita Avenue Woodbrook, and all RIK bookstores nationwide. Available online as paperback on Amazon.com and Kindle for e-readers. For more info, call 628-5835 or 389-6504. Also available from author Louis Lee Singh, I Used to Live in Heaven, Letters to My Granddaughters, and Local Government in Trinidad, Conspiracy Against the People.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God, so we cannot have a stalemate.
You'll focus on the woman who's being the victim,
right,
or the man who's being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI, worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
Take some time for yourself or spend some time with the family at Sandy Point Village Hotel. Enjoy our various studio and suite apartments, self-contained with their own kitchenettes and Wi-Fi. We also have our famous 100-foot swimming pool and our beachfront restaurant, the Steak and Lobster Grill. And our location in Crown Point puts us near the center of activity from the nylon pool to the local nightlife. Call us and make your reservations at 639-8533, 389-2378, or email us at sandypointvillagehotel@gmail.com.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas, and Movie Town, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
Welcome back to Trinidad and Tobago to Breakthrough. I am Mark Anthony Peter, as per usual, and Sean Michael Small, as per usual, right? And we're here with our first guest. Get ready to get this topic of discussion started. Joining us is the one, the only, Chrisson Seraphim Joseph. Good morning. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I got a
two fools.
I gotta be that's excitement.
I would just like to point out, right, that you opted in to the foolishness, so stop complaining.
That is true.
Right? You picked the co-host and you picked the guest. Hey. Right? Nobody forced you into the situation, buddy. And you picked the industry and the career. Why are you trying to tear away from me now? Huh?
I can't see my way with you. I cannot see my way. Anyway. Mr. Joseph.
Yes, sir.
So last time you were on set actually was earlier this year when we did Carnival, right? And we can say that is kind of
first episode of Carnival.
The first episode of Carnival. So now this you're the first episode of season 2 of Breakthrough. So
I just first right through.
I mean, technically, I think you were also my first artist interview solo that I've ever done back in North Coast Jazz, I think 2 years ago. Yeah. After your set, a great set by one Mr. Joseph.
Thank you.
Showed his, because I knew he was a Calypsonian before. Mark recommended me to go see one of his concerts. And, but then, of course, he did more than that on the North Coast. So, I was thoroughly impressed.
I'm wondering, am I the first? Because I'm first, am I like the guinea pig? Like, let's try this out, see how it goes.
Well, speaking of another first.
I did have a lecturer who had my group go first in one assignment because he wanted to set the tone. So he set the tone.
Right. He was actually, when I first started music, he was the lead singer of the first band I was in.
Oh, look at that.
Yes. That is very true. Back in,
even more first.
I was high. But anyway. So
were you really in the band, or were you more like,
it was my band.
It was your band?
Yes. I got my dad and we got some friends, and this good fella right here graced us.
You're lucky.
First band.
And we could.
That's like Michael to be Patrick Jackson's before he goes solo. You're lucky.
Now, granted, he's seen me grow up, so he's been around, but. And things were very successful. But like speaking of success, so it's a topic that we always talk about, and it's a question that I try to ask our spotlight guests, like how do they define success? Because I think success means different things to different people, and we want to talk about redefining success, especially as artists, because we may see this particular role. If I don't land this role and I just do something else, that means I'm not successful. If I am only in a band and not a solo act, then I'm not successful. If I'm only a choir, then this happens. If I'm only a choir member and not the conductor, I'm not successful, or the director or something like that. So
soloist, if I'm not a
or the soloist and stuff like that. So I'm gonna ask you the question: how do you define success? And it kind of, this topic of discussion kind of came from a blog post where it's like, is success getting the good grades, getting the top role, or is it making your own contribution wherever you can?
So I see two sides of a very important coin here, the success coin. And on the one side, when we start to get into adulthood and starting to make our way in the world, then I think it's unfortunate that so many artists measure success by popularity or by whether they are making $1 million or $10 million, or am I on a plane every week, 3 times a week. That's great stuff. But when I ask someone who didn't go into the arts, whether they're successful as a banker or as an accountant, the measure is not, am I the CEO or do I own this company? The measure is, am I able to take care of my family? Are my bills paid? Am I taking care of my business? Am I doing the stuff that needs to be done as a responsible member of my society?
Right.
So if that's success for everyone else, then make it success for you as well. So that's that side. I think it's important to figure out, as a performing artist, am I able to get those basic things done and contribute? That is success. On the other side of the same coin, success for an artist, I think, should also be about what are you saying? So are you in this space making, this is now not the contribution of the physical contribution, I'm paying bills. This is the contribution of an artist as a commentator, as an educator, as an entertainer. Are you bringing those things to people? And if you are, then again, that's success. So that's what I would measure success as for.
Okay. Now you mentioned telling stories. Now we all know how, and there was a recent article that came out there. We all know how Calypso started, and it was a matter of
you'd be surprised.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we all know the general public consensus of how Calypso started. To learned technicians like yourself, we might not know that much, but for the sake of the conversation.
And we are willing to hear and to be educated, but it was really came down to a matter of, most of it, a matter of sharing information and just telling stories, as you said, right? But it seems as though, and this happens in other styles of music as well, it seems as though, to me, there may need to be a shift happening. Maybe people aren't aware of the true origin story, and that's why maybe it's not appreciated as much as it should be. Maybe that's why it's not as followed as much as it should be, because there were days when we had 4 channels on the TV, right? And so we were engrossed in it was being shown. So now we have streaming. Now we have 1,000 and 1,500 channels, and people are choosing other things except.
And there were music videos for Calypso.
Yes.
Right? I don't know if you have that anymore.
Right.
Now it's just
So
soca, if anything.
Right. So it's like, so how does the legacy of Calypso and the success of Calypso keep going in your opinion? And what do people need
to couch it? Because in the article, David Runner is quoted as saying, well, Calypso is in a weak spot right now.
I think so. Yes, that's what he said. So, what are your thoughts on that?
I feel like you said a lot, and I don't even know what to respond to first. With respect to, let me go with the last thing, that Calypso is in our weak spots. I could understand why that is the popular and overarching view of where Calypso is. However, I think we need to sometimes start by thinking about, again, how do we define success? So that it is not a new argument. Even when there were 4 channels on TV, people were saying, I can find Calypsos from when there were 4 channels on TV, when there was 1 channel on TV, when there were 2 radio stations complaining about there not being enough Calypso on the radio or on the TV. So that's not a new complaint.
Okay.
We have, from the very beginning, had a problem with appreciating ourselves. And that also is not by accident. That is by design. So that the people who brought us into this space, it was always important for them to keep us subjugated. And physical subjugation gets tiresome for everybody involved. But if the subjugation is mental and spiritual, then they just set it in motion and let it go. And so that's where we still are. We're still dealing with the idea that what others do is better than what we do. Social media makes that worse because there is so much more of what other people do in our face all the time. And in addition to that, I think there's so many studies that show how dangerous social media has been for the psyche of the human being. So that you have a people who are already subjugated in their minds. They already feel less than. Even if they don't say it, they show it in the way they operate. And now you add to that this new media that says to everybody, you're not doing enough, you are not enough, you're not good enough. Look at this one, look at what they're doing, look at that one, look at what they're doing. What are you doing? And so the challenge of Calypso, or the challenge that Calypso is facing really is the challenge that we as a nation are facing. And I feel that if we recognize that, then we would be more prepared to put the resources and the brain power into creating a space for Calypso, because we would recognize that that would in fact redound to us as a people being in a better place.
So you mentioned about the whole social media thing, and I have spoken, Sean and I have had discussions about it before, the sort of overconsumption, the information overload. And you said, look at all of these people. And it's 30-second videos, yes, but it's one after the next after the next.
Yeah,
giving you the same information.
You can get doom scroll, is that what they call it?
The doom scroll.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's what it's called, but that is apt because every now and then, I don't do this all the time, but every now and then I get stuck for 4 hours just. Well, not 4 hours, but maybe
no, but it
like,
happens to people.
But it just happens.
People lose their entire day doing this.
Yeah, because,
it's crazy.
It seems really short, 30 seconds, until you realize how many 30 seconds you give up.
So that was funny. Let me watch one more. That was funny. One more.
Exactly.
One more, and then
it just becomes a habit. So it's insane to me because, it's almost like we approach this topic like Calypso is this thing that can fix itself, when it's really, a lot of us are not choosing to, participate because we're choosing other things. And to his point, without any sort of conscious choosing, it's sort of subconscious because you're subjugated, as he said, you're subjugated by this thing.
I think it's maybe marketed to say minimal conscious thought, because like you initially like, oh, I'll just watch, and like you're kind of just one more. So you're falling for the trap, but you are technically actively choosing to start that ball rolling. Right? and then you're not careful to stop it, because if you really, you know, decided to, you could stop. So to some extent, it is us falling for that trap, because, you know, really and truly, why are you watching a couple hundred YouTube shorts or TikTok videos? Like, why? There's no actual purpose for this.
Exactly.
Right? None whatsoever, because half of it is going to be completely random to you. The other half might be based on the algorithm, but half of it will be like some nonsense that, you know, you might not even enjoy. It might be somebody's live stream, they're like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah,
but you'll just keep going.
Well, as you mentioned, the algorithm is just going to continue feeding that, because if you don't participate, if you don't partake in a certain thing, the algorithm won't continue feeding you that thing.
Well,
So
I mean, the algorithm changes the algorithm.
It does.
It's just the program for these online things, what they do to feed you videos and recommendations, and that changes when they think they know the best way to change it, and it just causes all kind of issues.
It changes the better they think they know you.
Well, now, yes, that's what they're striving for, because they want advertising dollars. Yeah. But actually, the two points I think are interconnected, because one of the things that Rudder brought up was the fact that Dimashkra, it turned Calypso into, well, we're just competing for the check. Right? And then one of the things with the blog post was talking about the fact that in art, too many people are competing for limited jobs. Limited solo jobs. There's only one Phantom in the Phantom of the Opera. There's only one Simba in the Lion King. Right? There's only one conductor of this orchestra. There's only one writer of this whatever. There's only one director for this film.
Which brings me back to my first point.
What is?
Can you still pay your bills?
Yeah.
Do your children still go to school? Are your children still fed? You're a success.
But then that
never mind that you're not the Phantom. Maybe one day you'll be the Phantom. Maybe you'll never be the Phantom. It doesn't matter.
The blog post had a good point where they highlighted a music teacher that successfully allowed people to participate meaningfully. There wasn't just participation trophies that felt empty to everybody and made people upset, right? And lessened the value of participating. It was honest participation and collaboration. And is it that, and perhaps going back to what you said, we think that everything outside is so much bigger and better and more lucrative, so we kind of underestimate the potential here. Does that in some ways contribute both the competitiveness and underestimating what we have? People aren't necessarily willing to collaborate because we don't see the opportunity in the pie could be bigger, you know? The pie is small because we don't collaborate, because we don't try to grow it. The pie could be bigger. And then we could all pay our bills. But right now, what we have is some people are able to pay their bills. Other people have to have a day job to pay their bills while they kind of struggle away. And it's this zero-sum game of competition, right? That maybe it's because that's what we kind of turned it into. All of a sudden now, instead of growing an industry, like compete. Best band, best soca, best road march, best Calypso Monarch, right? Compete, right? It's fine for an award show. But the industry is so tied to these things. Look what it did to soca with Soca Monarch when they put serious money into the system. All of a sudden, things took off, but it couldn't have been sustained.
Well, I don't know if it couldn't have been sustained. Like, why Soca Monarch failed might be a whole different...
Well, that's a whole other thing.
That's my very oversimplistic take. But back to Calypso.
But I think competition is a part of life.
Right. Yeah. But do we maybe compete too much in the art sphere, or it should be fine?
I think the question probably becomes, how do we deal with competition? So, for instance, people tend to make this great demarcation between an award show, for instance, and a Calypso Monarch competition.
Right.
They're not that different.
Right, yeah.
If I win the Grammy, suddenly I am selling 10 million records. Less people even knew who I was. So they are also competing.
Yeah.
If I win the Calypso Monarch, now I get hired to go to Miami, to New York, to wherever, London. I make the circuit because now I've won. They're both doing the same thing. I think what becomes important is the way we deal with winning and losing. So that I didn't win the competition, does that mean now
I have no value?
I have no value. I have nothing to do.
Yeah.
I should just sit down and wait. Does the person who won the competition look down on me, or does the person who won the competition recognize, well, boy, it was my night tonight, it could be your night next time? Yeah. Does the person who won the competition recognize that when I'm going to Miami, it might make sense to bring you with me, so that someone in the audience may not even see me as their cup of tea, but they still had a good time in the show because I brought you and they really loved you. So now we have one more fan of the music. May not be one more fan of Chrison, but one more fan of the music.
Yeah.
And so it keeps building that way. I will say that, and actually my cousin pointed this out to me this weekend. I saw him, Chucky. So Chuck is pointing out to me, in response to me telling him that I went to the Audacity of Kaiso at Central Bank this weekend.
Right.
Stacey Sober's show. And it's like how wonderful it was that I had a really good time. I enjoyed it from the very start to the very end. The show started here and it never came down. It just kept going. And, you know, we were both very happy for her. Like, yeah, we're so glad that her show went well and it sold out and people had a good time. And then he says, you know, have you recognized that there are a lot of shows in that vein happening where an artist hires multiple other artists?
The collaboration.
So it is happening.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
It's happening. We need to sustain it. We need to recognize that there's value in it.
Yeah.
And we need to continue to support each other.
Yeah.
Because supporting each other makes the pie grow. There'll be more people to say, oh, that's something worth going to.
Here's an interesting thought, though, just to bring that point back to the social media point. Because the one thing I have noticed is social media, because it's a place where people could generate new entertainment models and business models, I have seen success with collaboration, and I do wonder to what extent is this a little bit of positivity in seeing, yes, we're seeing what other people do, and there's the whole grass is green on the other side, green-eyed monster with envy. But then there's also the, hey, that's a possibility.
Yes, of course.
A possibility.
One of the things that, I don't remember who I heard say it, honestly. I'm stealing your idea, whoever you are. That was really beautiful coming out of the horrors of COVID was how much our entertainment sector made use of that time.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
There were lots of folks that sometimes decided because there was no other choice than they had to eat.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm going to figure
it out
how to make this phone, this computer, this little microphone I have, how am I going to make this work?
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people using those tools more than they would have previously. And that may well be where a lot of the idea of more collaboration started to really pick up.
Right.
If we look at, I don't know what to call these guys. I guess they're content creators, but they're kind of comedians, like all these, locals.
Yeah.
Like Kyle Boss.
And these sort of these comedic people. Yeah.
And how much, so for instance, if I'm into one of them, I really like his videos, and I look at him all the time, and then he'll have one of the other guys
with it,
do a guest thing on his channel, and so then someone will be like, "Who's that fella?" And they'll realize, "Oh, he's popular too. Let me follow him too." So like things like that are happening, you know.
And they go back and forth on social media with each other as well. Like if you follow one, you'll see the other one up here. So that's
running out of time.
We're running out of time.
Running out of time for
but really quickly as we head out, I know you have something underneath this desk.
Yes, sir.
Pull it out.
Pull it out. All right.
Let me head out with something
Have some music to close the show.
Something a little nice.
So,
something a little nice.
Very nice.
All right. Two things I want to do really quickly. I'm in my West Indies shirt. Our ladies are playing in the ICC World Cup. They've got a game tomorrow. If they win, they're into the semi-final. It's simple as that. So we're praying that they get a little win. Rally round the West Indies, now and forever. Rally round the West Indies, now and forever more. The Lord Superior.
Yes.
If you walk around, you're bound to hear the talk. From the small town all the way to New York, Trinidadian saying how Calypso is dying, and his only soul they buying. But let me put them all straight, you know I'm an optimist. Calypso is great, and it will long exist. All of them who saying so, well, little do they know. All of them go dead before Calypso. I know this same Calypso has outlived rock and roll, and Calypso will outlive soul. More fads will come, and when they are gone, this same Calypso will be carrying on. Pam pam pero birum boom boom be. The Trinidadian is an interesting guy. For him, Calypso could live or die. This man is so unconcerned, I don't know when he learned to appreciate what's his own. Just give him something foreign, good Lord, he would buy that fast. You don't care a damn thing, though it could be second class. Once the radio or TV say it's from some next country, he'll say to himself, that must be good for me. But I know this same Calypso will outlive rock and roll, and Calypso will outlive soul. More fans will come, and when they are gone, this same Calypso will be carrying on. The tents are packed up in January. We dancing non-stop, we Calypso crazy. Once it is carnival time, we going out with mine. Every Calypso sounds fine. But when the carnival done, and we throw away the mask, we don't care a damn. No, no, no. And when the carnival done, and we throw away the mask, all of a sudden, like the kite, so lose its class. Tell me, how could a song be great in February, and soon as March come, lose its quality? I know this same Calypso will outlive rock and roll, and Calypso done outlive soul. More fans will come, and when they are gone, this same Calypso will be carrying on.
if that does not cause some sort of emotional response in your heart or your soul, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you, right? I just know you and I apparently speak in two different languages. Yeah, but that is a master technician at his craft. That's what I'll say about that.
Long live Calypso. Chris-san, thank you so much for joining us this morning. It was great, as per usual, always.
We'll shake hands when
I love this show so much. Y'all, Trinidad and Tobago, have a great week.
That's how you start the first season, the first episode of season 2 of BreakThrough. There you go, that's how we start the show.
Yes. Stay tuned for more as we come next week. My name is Mark Anthony Peter, Sean Michael Small, Chris and Seraphim Joseph. Have a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
WESN.
Every word, every line, every paragraph depicts a real moment in someone's life. A father, a sister, a mother, a brother. We at Newsday are dedicated to you, the people, and through independent, unwavering journalism, strive to always bring your stories to life. Because your stories are more than just words. Newsday, independent and credible.
The newest book is here, Closer to the Church, the debut novel by author and former mayor